We got to the Reigns, Heyman, and Usos in-ring promo next. And this, I really started getting hot because Roman Reigns is great. What an attitude, what a voice, what a delivery, the facials. But the fans ruined this because they whatted him too much. It was distracting. He worked around it, but it was distracting. This, without the whatting, would have been it still was a great promo, but this, without the whatting, this is how to sell a match in pro wrestling verbally. It was serious. It made it important. It was personal. Talking about the way that Brock made him look in front of his family, and his kid did that. His family doubted him when he busted his head open before, blah, blah, blah. Except for the what shit, which 20 fucking years. And now they're doing it again because Austin's back.
They never stopped doing it.
Well, I mean, they never
That's the worst thing Steve Austin ever did to wrestling, was introducing that chant.
It's more now because it's on their mind. But here's what I was going to talk about with the Brock promo. The Brock promo was fine. And they played with him with the what too, and he, played back with him a little bit. And it's harder for the heel because like Reigns, because they want to disrupt the heel, whereas they didn't want to necessarily disrupt Brock Lesnar. But did anybody even talk about, or did we notice, or did maybe the announcers cover it in one of the, the bumps to the break or an on-camera or whatever? But they have been advertising for, the past 2 or 3 weeks. What's going to happen in Madison Square Garden? Well, we know what happened. Well, what's going to happen when they're face-to-face on Raw or SmackDown or whatever? The forklifts and the pickaxes to the SUVs and the fucking chaos and the attacks and the Zoom calls that they're breaking in on. And then all of a sudden, both Reigns and Brock Lesnar are in this building together. They come out to the ring and do uninterrupted promos within an hour of each other. And there's no violence. Neither one of them says boo to the other. And a lot of people are, well, Cornette, you've always said sometimes they ought to just talk about it. We shouldn't see an angle every week. And that is true. But Brian Last, I propose this to you. I posit this theory to you. Did they book it backwards, having these guys in such a frenzy, at such a fever pitch, that they couldn't be in the same building without taking pickaxes and forklifts to each other last week and the week before the match? Well, then they do great promos, but they're coexisting in the same place at the same time. They put the cart before the horse. They booked in strange order. And a lot of that is due to Vince changing his mind all the time, I know, and that was the same way 25 years ago. We were locked into more things when we taped 4 weeks of Raw in one night. And that's when Vince was that legendary plan-ahead guy. As soon as Raw got to be live every week, then the legendary plan-ahead guy got shorter ahead until finally now it is what it is now, that they're changing the shit when they go in the production meeting before the show. But when you did 4 weeks of TV in a row or in a night, and it was on tape and it couldn't be fucked with, week one you might do the angle, whatever it is, between whoever it is. Then week two you might replay that angle to freshen it up in people's mind and announce that the match is going to take place. Or if you already announced that it's going to take place or where it's going to take place, that it has this extra stipulation or whatever the case. And then you let the guys talk about it, whether live or on tape or whatever. And Matt, in week 3, 2 weeks before the show, maybe then you freshen it up a little bit. Maybe if it was a heat angle, the babyface gets a little fucking hope spot back. And then the week before the go-home show, that's when you try to go for heavy heat, unless the heavy heat was to start, or you need to reinforce something, or whatever. And there's 18 million ways to do it, but you don't start out or get to the point where these guys are having to be held back like rabid dogs, and then you've still got more TV before the show. Because it's like, I've always said, like a referee bump, your clock is ticking. I use that phrase in wrestling school because before modern wrestling, when it just became accepted now that when the referee gets bumped by a shoulder tackle or whatever, he's going down, he's going to be down for 3 minutes or however long it takes to do whatever they want to do. In legitimate professional wrestling of the territory days and years gone by, yes, if the referee did get a finger poke in the eye, or a guy bowled him over with a shoulder tackle, or he got squished in the corner, as soon as he dropped, the heel's clock was ticking. And they have to commit the crime, the robbery, while the policeman is distracted, not knowing how long he's going to be distracted, so they have to look as if they are hurrying as fast as they can, and the business, whatever it may be, has to get done before the people in the arena who can see all this. They can still see the referee, even if he's down on the floor. They can see him at ringside. They see what's going on. When the referee has been down long enough that the attention of the people in the arena is starting to go back to him like, well, wait a minute, how long is he going to be knocked down? That's counterproductive. Because then their attention is being distracted from the fuck finish, from the cheating or the illegal tactic of the heel, who's got to get it done again as quickly as possible before the mind wanders of those fans over to, well, that guy ought to be up by now. And then they're getting pissed at this bullshit, and they're really not paying attention to what's going on in the ring. And then the whole thing becomes horse shit. So your crime clock is ticking when the referee goes down. In the same way, you're building tension to see a match with angles and promos and etc. It's like pulling a pin on a hand grenade. When you pull the pin on the hand grenade, you know you got 10 seconds. And there's drama and there's tension. And if there was a clock on the screen, people by 3 and 2 are going, oh, shit, and your asshole's puckering. But then if the fucking thing don't explode, what if you had 30 seconds on that hand grenade? Or 60 seconds? Well, now if that hand grenade, the pin has been pulled, or the referee has been bumped, or a gimmick has been brought out, brass knucks, whatever, the gimmick is in play, your clock is ticking. It's all the same. All the tension and the drama that you're going to get from a hand grenade or from a foreign object or from a referee bump so he can't see a fuck finish or whatever the case is going to happen at the start. The longer it goes on, then the people are going to be, well, is that goddamn thing going to blow up? Well, it's been 60 seconds. Well, and then they started, well, it must be a dud. And then if it does blow up, they've already convinced themselves it's not going to. So then it's like, oh, I guess it blew up. Not, holy shit, it blew up. Everybody takes too long. And subliminally, people are seeing that, even if every fan in the audience doesn't understand why, that they don't care as much as they ought to. That's why. A lot of modern wrestling fans, the million or so that watch AEW for a weekly habit, they're conditioned to just watch whatever happens and it doesn't have to make sense. And they don't care that the guy's down for so long because they know he's supposed to be. But the other 9 or 10 million people that used to watch wrestling until they got run off by a horse shit like that, they're the ones that kind of care about that stuff. But now it's just normal. Oh, the referee gets bumped. If he was down for 3 minutes unconscious, he's probably going to wake up a vegetable. And nobody comes, the guy's laying there for 3 minutes. Do we know if he's breathing? Has he got oxygen? brain damage, whatever the fuck. It doesn't happen like that. Legitimately, a referee can be knocked down. It's happened as a shoot. Or he can get poked in the eye and can't see for a minute. It's happened as a shoot. It's believable because it's can happen and has. I've never seen anybody get knocked out for 4 minutes by a shoulder tackle and then be okay enough on the other side of it to roll in and count the 3 count. That's why everybody hates the Dusty finish now, because Dusty never had his refs take bumps for fucking 5 minutes. And Dusty usually piqued his hatred amongst his people that he was trying to sell tickets to their match, not for 3 weeks ahead of the match, but going into the match. So to bring that whole thing around full circle, I would have loved these promos by Reigns and Lesnar better if they'd taken place before they were actively saying, if I'm in the same place at the same time as you, I'm going to run you down with my fucking forklift. See what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. I agree with you. It is weird that the last few episodes have always been, Reigns has been on the run from Lesnar, and I kept expecting Lesnar to come out. It didn't happen. One other note, because you really said everything there. You brought up Reigns' facial expressions. The most underrated one is the one of fear. When he was confident that Lesnar wasn't going to be there, they showed that highlight again from SmackDown, and then all of a sudden, he found that Lesnar was there. His face. He's right now the best guy in the business. The best top guy in the business.
Yeah. And it, you know, it's frustrating that we had that, he had that underneath there all along, and they tried to force feed him as a babyface all those years. But we talked about that when it was happening. But anyway, that's my summation of the whole Lesnar Reigns thing. Is it looks like it started out at hatred and has peaked at, minor pissedness. Their emotions are going backwards.